Hey everybody, it's me, Lily Rose, the admin here at Encouragement Corner on Facebook, and we are continuing on today in the book of Acts. We're at chapter 24, if you would like to follow along. We're going to start reading a little bit about a trial in Caesarea for Paul. Now remember, as we're reading, that Paul is a Roman citizen, so different rules apply because he's a citizen by birth in Rome, which was not a common thing. And it gave him some clout, right? It gives him some extra authority that other people wouldn't have. So they kind of have to put some kid gloves on as they proceed. I'm still battling a little, I don't know what. So it says, 5 days later, Ananias the high priest arrived with some of the Jewish leaders and the lawyer, Tertullus, to present their case against Paul to the governor. When Paul was called in, Tertullus presented the charges against Paul in this following address to the governor. You have provided a long period of peace for us Jews, and with foresight have enacted reforms for us. For all of this, Your Excellency, we are grateful to you. But I don't want to bore you, so please give me your attention for only a moment. We have found this man to be a troublemaker who is constantly stirring up riots among the Jews all over the world. He is a ringleader of the cult known as the Nazarenes. Remember, Paul was of the higher order of priestly people and was very learned and stuff. So I can only imagine the arguments we're not seeing in here that he could pose for these religious leaders, making him a threat, right? In a sense to their security and what their status quo is there. It says he is a ringleader of the cult known as the Nazarenes. Furthermore, he was trying to desecrate the temple when we arrested him. You can find out the truth of our accusations by examining him yourself. Then the other Jews chimed in, declaring that everything Tertullus said is true. The governor then motioned for Paul to speak. Paul said, I know, sir, that you have been a judge of Jewish affairs for many years. So I gladly present my defense before you. You can quickly discover that I arrived in Jerusalem no more than 12 days ago to worship in the temple. My accusers never found me arguing with anyone in the temple, nor stirring up a riot in any synagogue or the streets or the city. These men cannot prove the things that they are accusing me of doing. But I admit that I follow the way, which they are calling a cult. I worship the God of our ancestors, and I firmly believe the Jewish law and everything written in the prophets. I have the same hope in God that these men have, that he will raise both the righteous and the unrighteous. Because of this, I always try to maintain a clear conscience before God and before people. After several years away, I returned to Jerusalem with money to aid the people and to offer sacrifices to God. My accusers saw me in the temple as I was completing a purification ceremony. There was no crowd around me and no rioting. But some Jews from the province of Asia were there, and they ought to be here to bring the charges if they have anything against me. Ask these men here what crime the Jewish High Council found me guilty of, except for the one time I shouted, I am on trial here before you today because I believe in the resurrection of the dead. Now remember, guys, the Sadducees and the Pharisees are very separated and divided on this issue of the resurrection of the dead. So it would cause a commotion amongst those two groups. At that point, Felix, who was quite familiar with the way, adjourned the hearing and said, Wait until Lysias, the garrison commander, arrives. Then I'll decide this case. He ordered an officer to keep Paul in custody, but to give him some freedom and allow his friends to visit him and take care of all his needs. A few days later, Felix came back with his wife, Drusilla, who was Jewish. Sending for Paul, they listened as he told them about the faith in Christ Jesus. As he reasoned with them about the righteousness and self-control and coming day of judgment, Felix became frightened. Go away for now, he replied. When it's more convenient, I'll call again for you. He also hoped that Paul would bribe him or send for quite and sent for him quite often and talked with him. After 2 years went by in this way, Felix was succeeded by Porcius Festus. And because Felix wanted to gain favor with the Jewish people, he left Paul in prison. Wow. Talk about a long journey here. And, Paul kept his honor and his character in this, right? It might have been just that easy as giving Felix a bribe or saying, hey, let me grease your shoulders. And he didn't do that. He stood firm on truth and continued to, in a sense, minister to Felix by not wavering. So, love y'all.